So I want to talk to you about fasting, intermittent fasting, and a little bit about ketones or the keto diet. So there's a lot of confusion about what these things mean, and some people really researched it, and some people are kind of new to it. But fasting means going for a period of time without eating, and it's typically defined as 1 day or longer. And what happens during periods of fasting, your body has a certain amount of carbohydrates stored in your liver that it can release to give you energy, let you do things like breathing at night and keep your body warm. And after a certain number of hours, your carbohydrates load in your liver is depleted and your body starts burning fats. And that's during periods of fasting, even if it's only for 10 hours or so. And once your body starts burning fats, that's when it starts turning the fats into ketones. And ketones are units of energy that fat turns into that your cells can use for energy. Pretty much most cells of your body can handle ketones as a sole source of energy instead of sugar, except for the red blood cells in the liver. So, but most of our cells, such as the brain, function quite well on ketones. In fact, the keto diet was first introduced in the 1930s to treat children with epilepsy because their brains would not have epilepsy when they were not getting blood sugar, which is not a good fuel for the brain, whereas ketones are. So the keto diet has been around for a long time. It's gained popularity recently in lieu of the Americans' obesity crisis and the fact that we're consuming so many carbohydrates. So let's talk about the intermittent fasting, time-restricted feeding, and the keto diet, and how to, what you might use if you're trying to, get some weight loss, or even just kind of get sharper, get your mind sharper, or take breaks from eating all the time. So time-restricted feeding refers to that eating between a certain number of hours a day. It's like the classic one is not eating until like 12 or 1 o'clock and stop eating at 6 or 8 o'clock at night and put all your calories in those hours. And then 16 hours a day, you're fasting, and 8 hours a day that is when you're doing your eating. People more commonly call that for time-restricted feeding rather than true fasting. Because the real benefits of fasting don't occur for about 24 hours. That's where your body starts really repairing itself, doing something called autophagy. So for a fasting diet is typically done 2 days in a row, kind of like a Monday and Tuesday where you stop eating Sunday night. You don't resume eating until either Tuesday night or the next day. And during that 48 hours, your body will be ketotic. You'll be burning ketones. Your mind will be a little bit sharper. At first, when you do it, it feels kind of weird because you're hungry all the time. But what happens after doing that for a few cycles, your hunger level will actually decrease. And our gut microbiome, the bacteria in our gut, the bacteria that are wanting us to constantly eat kind of die out, and they don't give you as many signals to constantly eat. So I'm recommending that people that want to try losing weight, they focus more on intermittent fasting over time-restricted feeding. That's where you take 2 days a week where you eat very little. Classically, it's like less than 500 calories a day. It might be coffee and celery juice. Or somebody might do something that actually makes it easier for them to get to the first 2 days of not eating, and that is consuming a very small amounts of fat. Now, there's a concept called the bulletproof diet, and it's written by Dave Asprey, and he has a whole company around it. And he based on the fact that they found that you could put yourself in ketosis pretty quick, much quicker than the amount of time needed for fasting, by consuming medium chain triglycerides. So he developed a company, Bulletproof Coffee, and they've got this product. I'm not endorsing it. This is one I personally use. But I use the brain octane oil. And what happens is there's coconut oil is a medium chain triglyceride. And for some reason, if we take coconut oil along with ghee, which is a rarefied butter, I'll talk about that a little bit more. If we take that and emulsify it, and for this Bulletproof Coffee, they emulsify it into hot coffee, but you blend it in a blender, you put yourself into ketosis much, much quicker than just by not eating, by fasting. And you can get in ketosis pretty quick. And once you get in ketosis, your body gets really effective at burning fat. And for some reason, our body preserves muscle mass and burns fat when we're fasting over dieting, and it burns fat and preserves muscle mass when we're in ketosis, nutritional ketosis. There's another type of ketosis that's totally unrelated for somebody with insulin-requiring diabetes, where the ketones are a problem. This is not what I'm talking about. So if you're not taking medicines that lower your blood sugar, ketosis is perfectly healthy for you. So intermittent fasting is where you don't eat for 2 days a week. I've been doing that since about 2017, Monday and Tuesday. I don't eat typically. I cheat once in a while. And I right now I'm actually doing the Bulletproof Coffee, where I do the ghee, which is basically butter without the casein in it. This is from Kroger. It's grass-fed butter. There's no protein in it. And then the brain octane oil, which is the brand I like because they refine it a little bit better than the clear coconut oil you get at Kroger. So now Kroger coconut oil has a a couple different medium chain triglycerides in it. The solid stuff has a lot of non-medium chain triglycerides. So use a clear coconut oil. And if you want to get the premium, go to Whole Foods and get brain octane oil, but the Kroger stuff is fine too. And then you do a tablespoon of each into coffee and blend it and drink. And it actually tastes pretty good. Get the unsalted ghee, because sometimes ghee has salt in it, which tastes kind of weird. And that drinking that a couple times a day will actually suppress your hunger. I haven't eaten since Sunday. I'm recording this on Monday night. Really don't have any hunger. And when I don't drink the bulletproof coffee, I do have a little bit of hunger, but not much, because I've trained myself to do this. And it's also allowed me to go periods of time without eating, because I've been doing it for a few years. What about like side effects of not eating? A lot of people say, well, I will get brain fog, or I'll be hangry, all kinds of things. I can't exercise. Well, we've shown that people can perform better when they're in ketosis. So nutritional ketosis helps you perform better. Athletes put themselves in ketosis to be able to run faster. I put myself in ketosis when I'm doing some writing. So I'm writing a couple blogs tonight after this. When I've written books, I've always put myself in ketosis, because your brain actually functions better on ketones than on sugar. And when I exercise, tomorrow morning I go to the gym and work out, and it'll have no effect on me. Our body can sustain that muscle mass and the ability to exercise on ketones. So ketones are a perfectly suitable form of calories. When we have that issue with hangriness or the irritation about not eating, it's because we have bacteria in our guts that are giving us signals. We have chemicals in our gut that are giving us signals. We have a lot of things that are happening that are giving us signals to eat. But once you've controlled that by doing intermittent fast 2 days a week, after about a month or so, that really gets well under control, and your hunger will drop down. Keto diet. What about the keto diet? Well, that's the diet where you put yourself in long-term ketosis, where you basically don't eat hardly any carbohydrates, less than 25 or 50 grams a day, which is a very small amount. Limit the amount of protein you take. I'm not sure what it is, but it's somewhere around 50 to 100. There's about 50 grams max, and eat mostly fats. And it's very hard to do. I've tried every diet, and that one is hard. You do get kind of a weird feeling after a few days, and then get used to it. Your breath can smell a little bit like almost like alcohol from the ketones, because that's all you have. And I would say that most people who say they're on a keto diet, they're really just eating a bunch of unhealthy foods, meat and bacon and stuff. Because as soon as you eat a piece of bread, you're not in ketosis anymore. So if you can do it and it's working for you, that's great. I would probably check and see if you have any inflammation. I think there's a lot of concerns that the keto diet, especially a meat-based keto diet, is very inflammatory. But I'd say, on the other hand, it might be really individual to the person. I know that my body, my cholesterol and everything gets better if I eat a lot of vegetables, and I stay away from fish and meat and stuff like that for the most part, because that's just how my body responds. Some people do great eating a lot of fish. The Mediterranean diet has fish. If I eat fish, my cholesterol goes up, which seems very weird. I have a family history of heart disease, so I'm trying to avoid it. So the keto diet, I'm not recommending as a primary diet. I do recommend it to some people who are going through something like, we do this procedure called the Orbera balloon, where they put a weight loss balloon in, and I recommend putting ketosis for about a week or so they can get that hunger driven away. But I do recommend intermittent fasting for several reasons. First off, it helps grow things. So your mind, your normal cells, it helps you repair. You can actually get what's called neuroplasticity, where your brain repairs itself and actually de-ages itself by intermittently fasting over a long period of time. We can think better when we're ketotic, intermittent fasting for a couple of days, and we also can control our hunger and not be quite so hungry all the time when we do intermittent fasting. So it's very healthy for a lot of things. It does help us repair our body. Our body's always going through inflammation, which occurs all the time when you're eating. It's very inflammatory, and then periods of repair. But it doesn't do them both together. So unless you take a break from eating, you're not going to repair stuff, and you will age quicker. And, we look at the American diet. We've made very easy to digest foods. Food is widely available. Human beings did not originate this way, with constant availability of food and constantly eating. And that's something that's now backfiring on us, because we've done such a good job with our food supply and making safe food available for everybody. We're getting obese. So thank you very much.